Welcome to Energy Frontier, the Wyoming Landscape podcast. Hosted by Dr. Holly Krutka, Executive Director of the School of Energy Resources at the University of Wyoming. The show highlights SER's role supporting our mission to promote energy-driven economic development for the state of Wyoming.
Welcome back, listeners. We talk a lot on this podcast about innovative energy topics here at the University of Wyoming, at the School of Energy Resources, but really across the university. Also, we've had several industry experts and folks from the energy sector across the state. One thing that we also want to highlight, and that will be the focus of today's podcast episode, is startups. So we're going to focus on one particular startup based here in Laramie, Wyoming, right in the energy and minerals sector, doing really incredible work. So Dr. Kristin DiBona, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. To start us off, can you share a bit about your education and your background and what first sparked your interest in science and technology?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Okay, a little bit about me. My background is in the basically broadly scientific fields. I have a BS in chemistry from the University of Alabama and a PhD in biochemistry also from the University of Alabama.
Nice.
Roll Tide.
And you got a postdoc here at UW.
Then I actually did a postdoc at UT Austin and followed by a postdoc here at the University of Wyoming.
Two postdocs.
That's actually what brought me out here. Yeah.
Nice. So did you always like science?
I did. So my dad's actually a scientist and my mom is a mathematician. So I did have a little bit of interest in it growing up. I actually, when I went to college, had decided that I would do anything but science.
Yeah.
And then,
gotta rebel.
Yeah. And then, and then after I had spent like a year doing just like the general courses, I was like, no, I really love this. Mm-hmm. And I switched.
And I'm very good at it. Did you ever win any science fairs?
I don't think I won any science fairs. My parents didn't do them for me, unfortunately.
Oh, man. Bummer.
That was a thing.
Do you do them for your kids?
I don't know if they've been in any science fairs yet.
I know.
Ooh.
That's a good point.
But no, I would not.
Okay. Good to know. Okay. Well, I'm glad we covered that. So it sounds like your parents really influenced you with their backgrounds going into science. Was there any other like defining moments or mentors along the way that kind of helped you enter the fields you chose?
Actually, yes. Mm-hmm. So my PhD advisor at the University of Alabama, when I was majoring in chemistry, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. After I graduated, I didn't know which area I wanted to go into. And I actually took an intro to biology course with her, and she was amazing. And she was like, oh, you know what? We have this project. Your chemistry background would fit really well. It's not really chemistry. It's more related to different toxicology and metal toxicology in animals. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so interested in that. And that's actually why I decided to go to grad school and to go be in her group.
It's crazy. It's not actually a story too different from mine. It wasn't on my radar to go to graduate school, but I had a faculty member who kind of asked me to be in his undergrad research, and it just went somewhere from there, actually all the way to a PhD. And I think faculty here at the University of Wyoming and at all universities are with our students at this really pivotal time in their life when like very few of them know what they want to do. And it's cool to hear that story. So the postdoc brought you to Wyoming, and then you are CEO of a startup, which we're going to talk about.
Yep.
Did you start that right after your postdoc?
So I came here with myself and my spouse, who is faculty at the university. And after doing a postdoc here for about a year, we decided that we really wanted to stay. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really see myself in a faculty role. Having two faculty didn't really fit for our family. Mm-hmm. And we also had two young boys at the time. And that's when we decided, hey, we can use all of this expertise we've gained over the years, and we can take these problems that exist in the real world and work on getting these solutions out of the lab and actually functional in real life. Mm-hmm. And then it was really scary actually at first.
Yeah.
And that's a big jump, going from especially dual income to single income for a while. But we had a lot of support. Like once we made the decision, once I decided that I was going to start this company, that's when we started talking to people here in town and at the university and in the community. And that's when we realized how much support there actually was here for people starting new businesses.
So that's really interesting because I've heard you talk about that support that Wyoming has through these and for this community specifically here in Laramie. But I didn't realize. So you kind of learned about that after you made the decision to jump? Oh, wow.
Yes. It was,
that sounds
scary.
Okay. So I was going to ask you kind of like what stood out to you about Wyoming as a really great place to like be entrepreneurial in the scientific fields, but it sounds like it was the other way around. You went for it and then you found out it was a good place.
I guess some was happening at the same time.
Okay.
So we were having those conversations while I was still completing my postdoc.
Okay. So the name of your company is Wyonics.
Yes.
And so for those who aren't familiar, talk about what is Wyonics and what is the company's core mission?
So I will say as a startup, we've pivoted a few times, but our initial ideas when starting the company was we were going to use this class of solvents called ionic liquids, which are low melting salts. I did a lot of work in undergraduate research and graduate research in the area. And we decided that we were going to take these solvents and basically use them for sustainable purposes. And we really wanted to incorporate our Wyoming founding in the name, and so that's why we came up with Wyonics. Now I know it's pronounced, some people pronounce it like Wyonics or but it's it is for those ionic liquids.
Okay, so I had it. Okay, good. I love the name Wyonics. It's perfect.
It's really fun.
Do you have a mission statement?
We do. I have it memorized? Probably not.
But it is to
develop sustainable technologies for Wyoming and beyond. And it has tweaked a little bit over the years as our technology has advanced. So we've gone into a few different areas as we have collaborated with people at UW and in the community. But that is still our kind of overall mission.
Great. And so there's kind of two different areas you work in, and it simply bucketed. One could be wet chemistry and the other equipment. And we're going to keep it kind of simple, but maybe for the layperson, you could explain what falls into the wet chemistry bucket.
Yeah, so one of our first projects that we did with the Department of Energy was using ionic liquids as sustainable separation solvents. So instead of having to use harsh acids or high temperature or high pressure, we were able to design these liquid salts that could solubilize coal and extract critical materials like the rare earths from the coal. And so from that project, really, we've gone into other areas, including lithium extraction, rare earth separations from each other, as well as we're currently generating new materials out of both coal and cellulose, which is plants, coal and plants, to make new advanced carbon nanofibers.
Whoa, cool.
Yeah.
That's really neat. Yeah.
So that's our wet chemistry.
Okay.
And
that is all so relevant for the state. Okay. Now, when I say equipment, that's probably an oversimplification. What do you guys do in equipment?
So this is actually really exciting. So this is totally different from the other work I just talked about, but we have developed advanced instrumentation. So scientific instrumentation, you can think of a microscope as a scientific instrument. So we've developed this nanomanipulation platform, which basically can pick up and move around nanoparticles and microparticles. And the relevance for us and for the Department of Energy is for nuclear forensics. So let's say you have a single particle of a nuclear material and you need to analyze it. We can select that material. We can move it to a substrate, to a analysis machine.
I know what nuclear forensics means.
Okay. I know you've gone.
I've gotten some training here at the university. So it just means that it's a nuclear material that you can figure out where it came from.
Yep. You can. Yep. Good.
There we go. I can still learn. Fabulous. And it's amazing that, so some of your equipment work, those are really broad applications, although they are pretty relevant to Wyoming. I mean, we're standing up our first commercial power plant based on nuclear technology. Uranium production is ramping up, and when it gets used, there's all kinds of applications or research opportunities or entrepreneurial opportunities around that. So I almost don't know what to ask you specifically about. Like, I guess, how do you decide what you work on?
So that one is pretty tough. As a startup, we're pretty small, though we have grown. We started just the founders, and now we have about 10 people total.
Wow.
Almost all of them came from UW or from Wyoming. So when we're deciding what to work on, it has to do with our expertise and the problems we think we can solve. Some of it also has to do with funding availability.
Right.
I mean, that's just a part of science right now.
For sure.
But we are, that's the easiest answer, really.
When you were first standing it up and you were taking that initial jump, did you think you would have 10 people working for you?
No,
you didn't?
Well, maybe. It's really tough because the opportunities out there, you really need to show quickly that you can prove your technology, you can scale it up and get it to that commercial step. And we did have some issues during COVID, for example, where we were just getting ready to hire our first employees, and then COVID and nothing was happening. But right after, we ended up hiring our first employees, and we've kind of just increased from there. But I don't know. It is difficult to see down the road. Yeah. I expect in the next 10 years, we'll have at least double or more.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, for us here in Laramie, those are incredible jobs for graduates of UW to be able to stay here in this community and have high-tech jobs like that.
Yeah. And we don't just hire graduates, we hire students too. Part-time.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And, oh my gosh, some of them have gone on to great things. A couple have gone on to really good graduate programs, some here at UW. We've had a few go work at national labs. It's really exciting to see them, but it's sad because I want them to work for us forever, but it's exciting.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. So what kind of, I mean, first of all, that's an incredible opportunity for our students, right? Like smaller companies, it's such a great place to work because you get to learn so much about so many different topics, as I'm sure you have leading it, probably things you never thought you would have to learn. But what departments are you talking to and working with, and where do these students come from?
So primarily, most of our students come from the College of Engineering and Physical Sciences, just because of the work we do. The chemistry and chemical engineering departments, we've had mechanical engineering. We've also had a long-term student employee from the business school who helps us with our social media and our website and things like that.
Nice.
Are also difficult, are things you don't think about when you're starting a company. Like, how are we going to have a presence online? How are we going to, those are questions that when I was starting up, I did not think about.
Yeah. Okay. So clearly you have a great working relationship and are able to work with students. And that is an incredible opportunity for students. By the way, how does a student find out about these kind of opportunities?
So we've actually had a lot of luck contacting the university directly. We have a contact in the colleges. I don't know if I need to name names specifically.
Is it through specific faculty members, or do you go through the college, like career services? Like if a student wanted to get an opportunity like this, maybe with you, maybe with someone else, where do they look?
So, we are always open to people contacting us. We don't usually contact specific faculty, but we do contact specific departments and colleges. Okay. And we've had good luck with the career fair as well as the engineering listserv that they have for students. They send out, if we have an internship opportunity, they'll send it out to the list. And also we utilize the UW Handshake platform.
Oh, perfect.
That one's a little more difficult. We've gotten the most applications from that student listserv.
Great. Okay. So we hit on the student engagement, but how does the partnership with the University of Wyoming more broadly, how does that work? What does it look like, and how has that supported your work and your innovation?
So I think that having the university as a partner is excellent. There's access to so many resources that startups would never have and never be able to afford, like thousands of dollars of instruments, really intelligent faculty, collaborators. And the way that we've primarily worked with UW is We have primarily gotten funding through the Small Business Innovative Research Program, and we'll submit a grant and have a subaward back to the university, which will support usually like a graduate student or some undergraduate students to collaborate and work with us on the project.
This is so cool because it's like this innovation ecosystem where you're kind of feeding each other, right? Like we have resources here that like maybe you don't need some piece of a fancy lab equipment full time. You're going to use it once in a while, but like for a fee, you guys can use it here. But then you can, and to help your research be more successful, you write better proposals, then you can fund students here. So it's just really cool to see how it can all work together. And so it seems really mutually beneficial.
Oh, for sure it is.
Okay, so let's talk about some specific areas of innovation that you're working on. So carbon nanomaterial. First of all, what is that? Like I think most people know what carbon is or have heard of carbon. It's an element. What is a nanomaterial?
So a nanomaterial is just obviously a really small material.
Really small. Perfect. So, and you've made those, from coal and biomass together?
Yes. So this actually uses some of the ionic liquids I was talking about earlier. So they can, from our work we did previously with rare earths, we were able to dissolve a carbon fraction of the coal that we're actually getting up from PRB. And we can take that carbon fraction and co-dissolve it with plant materials, plant biopolymers, and make new nanomaterials. And so one of the ways we do that is we do electrospinning.
Ooh.
Which sounds really fun.
Does.
So you're able to, I'm not going to try to explain it in a very complex way, but you can use the ionic liquids to electrospin, which is basically applying an electric field and basically shooting out nanomaterials and nanofibers.
Nanofibers, okay. So those are some pretty complicated technologies, but common. Electrospinning.
It's actually not as common with ionic liquids.
Because
they are non-volatile, and usually you want something that evaporates really fast when you're making a nanofiber. And so the way that we have to do it, it has to go through water to get all the ionic liquid out very fast, like as you're doing it.
Keep going. Yeah.
No, it's okay. So we actually built our own electrospinning apparatuses that specifically can use the ionic liquids.
Nice.
It's also conductive, which is
conductive. Okay, but that's really important part of these materials, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I just am curious. So initially you were focused on rare earths, but then it is doing the separations process. So is that right? You were focused on the rare earths, but
then we still are doing rare earths as well, and that will be a part of the final kind of iteration of this technology. Will be to have the rare earths come off in a separate fraction, and then take the carbon fraction and make these new materials.
That is so cool.
So you're not wasting it,
right?
And you're making something really valuable.
And so being conductive, I mean, they could be used in all kinds of things.
Yeah, they're used for like battery separators or a few other materials like aerospace and automotive. So we're determining the primary market for these right now right now it's a proof of concept showing we can make them, which we have done, and characterizing them. But yes, we're looking at the uses now for which ones we should try to scale up.
So do you feel like Wyoming coal is a good feedstock for these?
Oh yeah. By far. It's
really?
It's the most similar to biomass.
Oh yeah, because it's younger?
Yes, because it's younger, which makes it a lot easier to work with the ionic liquids.
That is so cool. Okay, so none of this would have happened if you hadn't made that jump and decided to start a business in Wyoming.
Correct.
So starting a tech company and hard tech, right? This is hard tech. It's not software development. It comes with a lot of challenges. You need a physical space. You can't work out of somebody's garage. Shouldn't. Did you?
No.
I'm just kidding. Okay, good.
No.
So, talk about, as you were launching this, what kind of resources helped you get Wyonics off the ground?
So that was one that the university really helped out, and talking to people. We had to talk to a lot of people. When Wyonics first got started, we started by writing for grants, writing for these SBIR grants. Yeah. And we actually got the second one we applied to. And then we were like, great, now we need a space. So we initially started talking to people around campus, and they told us to talk to people at the WTBC, which I do not remember what it stands for. Wyoming Technology Business Center.
We're going to go with it. Now yes. Impact 307.
And now Impact 307. And they were actually very helpful. They gave us contacts for a bunch of different organizations for who to talk to. We also talked to the Small Business Development Center, and that is still a super helpful resource for us.
Where is
all
that?
The time. It's the physical location
is it part of the university, or is it part of the state business council?
Both. It is part university and part state. I believe. I know that some of the funding comes from the economic development, and some comes from a national small business center. I'm not exactly sure how it runs, but they're here in town and all across the state. Very helpful. But we were able to. They were able to make it work. They were able to find us a space we could utilize during our project, and that really helped us get off the ground. If we had to find our own space, like purchase a property at that time, I don't think that would have been possible.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember you saying, I've heard you speak about this before, and I think you were asked, like, is Wyoming a good place to start a small tech business? And I remember you saying, I think it's a great place.
It is. Yeah. I really do. I think this is one of the best places to start a company, to start a high-tech, hard-tech company. It's tough to maintain. We need a little bit of work there to try to keep people here and not move when they get successful.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a really welcoming opportunity, and most people want to see you succeed.
And so what would you say to someone who's thinking about making that leap that you made before? Like, would you tell them to do it? And if so, like, where should they start?
I would tell them to do it, and I would tell them to contact me, and I can try and help them find who they need to talk to. Because that's been like the best, is finding someone who could connect you to who you need.
And you have a website. Thanks to the College of Business student. So they can find you. And I don't know. I really appreciate that, because I think some people think you have to have a fully baked concept before you go out on your own. Did you? I mean, you just had a skill set and you're like, I think this is valuable. I
had a skill set. I had a knowledge base. But really, I identified problems that I felt like we could apply that knowledge base to. Did we know if it was going to work every time? No, you don't always know. Yeah. They're risky for a reason. The SBIR program especially wants high-risk projects. So if you're thinking, at least the Department of Energy does, not every agency is like that.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking you have a solution, don't go out with just a crazy idea, but like if you have a solution with like some scientific or technology background to it, then I would say do it.
And I think that's something that we talk about regularly on this podcast, is that when you're doing research in science and technology, that there's going to be successes and failures. If there's no failures, you're really not doing any research, but there can also be these moments where you get results that are really different than what you thought you were going to get. Do you have any examples of that like something where you were doing some kind of research project and you really got surprised and it maybe took you in a different direction?
That has happened a few times. I can't think of a specific example off the top of my head, but there's definitely been surprises.
So, and that's always something around this space. So, okay, so one of the things we talk about on this podcast regularly, it's kind of three topics. One is, energy work happening here at SER and across the university. Other is like the energy ecosystem across Wyoming, which this certainly is fitting into, and appreciate you being one of our very few startups that we've had so far, but I think this is great and we could do more. And it's because of our small population, maybe more startups is like such a great way for Wyoming to lean into high-tech employment jobs. It's hard to bring big firms in. But anyway, sorry, that was editorializing.
No, I agree.
And then third is leadership. So first of all, you're a scientist and entrepreneur. There's no way to question that. Do you see yourself as a leader?
I think so.
I think you are. You are. So, I mean, I just wanted, that was like kind of a false question to see what you would say. But I mean, obviously you are. And do you think about leadership? And like, if so, how would you describe your style?
Ooh, well, one of the pluses about being startup size is I get to be pretty hands-on with our employees. So I definitely see myself as a leader at work. But I'm also trying to advocate for the startup system and the hard tech companies in the state and kind of in the nation. There's unique difficulties and challenges that we can bring to light and try to solve together.
I totally agree. I think it's interesting when you look at like venture capitalist funds, there's not a lot focused on hard tech, but it's at some point, I mean, nothing works without actually, the physical infrastructure. And so I think hard tech, it's slower, right?
It is.
It's slower at making money than software, but then I don't want to say more impactful, but it is extremely impactful. And I think there's a lot of people who like to work with their hands, and there's just a lot that exists in the physical world that you can make a difference on. But tell me why are you, you said you kind of advocate for hard tech and smart startups in Laramie and Wyoming and even more broadly. Can you talk about that?
I can talk a little bit about it. I try, to talk to everyone I meet, especially outside of Wyoming, to talk about what it's like here. And I do think it's a really good place for startups. I do wish more people would start their own company. I also participate in leadership roles at national organizations like the American Chemical Society. I'm the chair-elect, I guess I'll be the chair next year, of the Small Chemical Business Division.
Wow.
And one of the things we do is we try to talk to all the small chemical businesses. You don't have to be chemistry only. It can be anything hard tech, really, about their struggles, their challenges, but also the opportunities and how we can connect to each other and basically make it go from a startup to established business.
And how do you know when you've crossed that threshold?
I don't know. Maybe revenue. Maybe like a extended. Yeah, I don't know. I think it is revenue based, like the technical definition.
There has to be some kind of critical mass where you have like enough momentum where it's not like paycheck to paycheck, or I don't know, I don't know. I'm sure this is what happens when you have an engineer editorializing on something like this.
It's probably different for everyone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, hard tech would be higher, right? Because you have more costs.
Yeah. We're getting really close to commercializing one of our instruments. So we're very close. And if we start making a few significant sales, then I would consider kind of out of the startup field, but I still would like to have our startup projects, if that makes sense.
So the first company I worked on, that's how they started, is essentially they did research, but then they had their first commercial project and that became a commercial division.
Right.
And they just sold that thing, the widget. And maybe there was like, we need to make the widget better. And they would go back and work with the research team.
Yeah.
But then the research team's always coming up with, I mean, think about some of the biggest companies in America. That's how they operate. 3M, Procter and Gamble, always innovating, never stopping, and they're huge. So, So on that, I mean, that's really exciting. So do you have potential customers in mind, or you do?
We do.
You don't have to tell me anything. I'm just curious.
A few.
That's so cool. Okay.
Yes, we've done extensive customer outreach through a couple different Department of Energy, NSF, and some UW programs. So
cool. And can you talk about that equipment at all, or like
about the instrument? Or So it's the nanomanipulator.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not just for nuclear forensics. That's the purpose of the project and why we developed it, but it actually has applications in a lot of different fields.
I don't know if that's an aha moment. That's a big thing too, right? There's this research you can study it for one reason, but have a lot of
But
impact.
there's a lot of other.
So what's next for you and for Wyonics? Is there anything like new technologies or projects on the horizon, or things you're specifically interested in looking at? And I know you said it definitely depends on funding. We're in kind of a questionable, we don't know what's next for like these federal funding
obviously,
agencies.
What's next is selling our instrument.
Selling the instrument, perfect.
Yes. And we have a prototype unit. We're getting it into people's hands. So that's our number one goal, selling instrument. But we do have a couple other areas we're looking at too. I don't want to go into too many details there.
Yeah. Yep. We'll protect that. We'll leave it at that. Very exciting. And hopefully we'll keep an eye on Wyonics long into the future. So more broadly, how do you see from your seat, like Wyoming's role evolving in the future of energy and materials, and what role do you think startups like yours can play in that?
So I know the energy focus kind of shifts over the years, but that fundamental science and technology is always going to be there, and it's always going to be necessary. Mm-hmm. And that's something that startups do, is they take the newest, most innovative technologies out of labs like UW Labs and bring it into the commercial sector where it can be actually used.
Mm-hmm. That's really well said. Well, okay, so our last question, we switched directions, but I warned you about this.
Uh-oh.
And we live in such a great state, so there's a lot of great things about Wyoming. You've talked about kind of the small community and having that network that can help you launch a business, help you do a lot of things. Mm-hmm. More broadly, it's a great place to live for a lot of reasons. Really beautiful. You can get outside. It's just a breathtaking state. So we like to ask our guests for their last question, what's your favorite place to visit in Wyoming? I know it's a hard one.
It is hard. Obviously Laramie is my favorite, but I really love getting to go everywhere. Mm-hmm. I have kids in travel sports, which a lot of you know what that's like. Mm-hmm. And I love getting to visit the communities and see the people in them. So that's a dumb answer.
No. We're keeping the answer, but cut out the
thing.
Yeah.
Cut the whole thing.
No, we're not cutting the whole thing. Do you want to do it again?
I don't know. Yeah.
You're not getting out of here without answering this.
Why?
Because it's we ask everyone that question.
But I like being in Laramie is my favorite.
That's perfect. Okay, you have to admit Laramie in the summer.
I love it. Yeah, I love it here.
Epic. Yeah.
So winters,
It's, what I like about winter in Laramie? The people bond together to make sure everyone's okay. It's so
That's
cold.
True. I love watching the snow from inside.
But like getting from the car to your work or your house, terrifying. I had this bruise on my leg for the first, because the door kept closing on my leg from the wind because you're not used to it. For a year, I had a bruise in the same place on my leg, and I finally figured out, I've got to start propping the door open.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay, we're going to go with summer in Laramie. Favorite place?
I do love summer in Laramie.
Okay. Well,
and fall in Laramie and UW football.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're we both like football. Well, we can't go down that road because we're out of time for today, but I have a lot of feelings about college football. So, and they're almost all
UW
positive.
Tennis.
Oh, fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the other great thing about Laramie is we have access to so much art, museums, all the sports and, music and all the things. So it's amazing. Great community, great for startups. Thanks for all you do. You work great with UW, and really appreciate all you do to invest in our community and make it better and to create high-paying, high-tech jobs for Wyoming and UW graduates and keep them right here in our community. So thank you for all you do. I know it's a lot of work, and thank you for doing the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Energy Frontier, the Wyoming Landscape, the podcast that highlights the School of Energy Resources at the University of Wyoming. You can expect a new episode of Energy Frontier every other Wednesday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. See you next time.